From books to websites to online classes, there are countless tools out there that focus on women and money. But an interesting debate going on right now in the finance world is whether these initiatives set up to help actually just perpetuate the stereotype that women are bad with money. According to our next guest, Manisha Thakor, founder of the Women's Financial Literacy Initiative, the answer is no, they don't. She's joining us now to tell us everything we wanted to know about women and their finances, but we're probably too afraid to ask. Hi there, Manisha. Welcome back to Good Money.
Hi, Tanya. Good to see you.
So the stereotype that so many of us have heard is that women are bad with money. Now, are they?
No. So here's the bottom line. People are bad with money. I spent 15 years in the financial services industry, most of that time in the money management industry, and what I found was very smart men and women equally as confused about money, and for three reasons, Tanya. It's not taught, we're not encouraged to teach it to ourselves, and third, the financial landscape has become dramatically more complex. 20 or 30 years ago, there wasn't an alphabet soup of mortgages. There weren't more mutual funds and stocks to select from. Today, we're so bombarded by choice, but we don't have an operating manual. Men and women are equally as confused.
So why do you think, first of all, that this stereotype has been perpetuated?
You know, I'm not sure it is a stereotype. I think it's an interesting question, and it's come up because there are personal finance books geared towards women.
Right.
And so I think the question really is, why are there books geared towards women?
Right.
And I don't think that the answer is that it's because women are bad with money. I think that's a Mad Men era myth.
Right.
I think the issue, Tanya, is that the default language of personal finance, it's male.
Right.
And I think, you know, whether you look at John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, or a very academic book, Deborah Tannen's wonderful You Just Don't Understand, Men and Women in Conversation, men and women can look at the exact same data and get the exact same teaching and interpret it differently. And I think women, I know I personally went to a women's college, I prefer to learn my economics through a female lens.
Right.
And I think a lot of women prefer to learn their finances that way.
So is that perhaps why financial advice is often different for men and women, simply because the lens that we like to process this information through may be slightly different?
Oh, Tanya, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think that's another key misperception that's out there, that there are finance books for women because we're bad with money or we need different advice. The only piece of tactical advice that I think differs by gender is your target asset allocation at any particular point in your life. Because women live longer, at any point in life, I think we need a higher exposure to equities than men, just a little bit. But other than that, the basics are the same.
Mm-hmm.
The key thing for women is we have less wiggle room to screw up. We earn less, we spend more time out of the paid workforce, and we live longer, so we've got to get it right.
But yet you yourself are founder of the Women's Financial Initiative, so why did you find the need to tailor this to women?
Again, I feel passionately this fire in my belly belief that women are not as encouraged as men to take ownership of this part of their life. I think that even though we've made so many strides, in the back of a lot of men and women's head is a bit of what I like to call rescue thinking, in the sense that oftentimes women are encouraged, oh, it'll work out, whereas men societally are encouraged, well, you better figure out, you know, you need to man up. People don't say you need to woman up. Right. And so I want women to have a safe and comfortable place to woman up and own their finances. So
this is a slightly or a subtly different message, simply because it's addressing something that you think, a wrong that you may be trying to right. In other words, you're thinking that women are not served by some of the images perhaps they grow up with, all the fairy tales, let's say, that they watch on Disney, where as soon as the woman marries, all of her problems are taken care of. And a lot of little girls still watch those shows to this day. So perhaps there is something that needs to be addressed about that.
Amen, sister. I call it the princess problem, and that's not my phrase. Laura Vanderkam wrote a wonderful op-ed about what the locus of control that young girls are encouraged to give up by playing with Barbies and princesses. And it's a messaging that young men don't get. And that's why I think personal finance education is so important for women and should go beyond just books. And that's why I'm doing an e-course on personal finance.
Let's talk about that, because you launched an online finance class for women. Tell us why you think it's so important to do it in this medium.
So we live in an ADD world. I personally am a bookworm. I love books, and I'm finding even I'm having trouble focusing through to the end of the book because we absorb our day in snippets. And so this online course that I'm offering in conjunction with Sympoz, S-Y-M-P-O-Z, short for symposium, teaches women in a way that's fun. It's interactive. You can pass notes, raise your hand, ask a question. It's very communal. And for busy women, you can do it at 10, 15-minute chunks at a time, which is very important with these kind of lifestyles we're all leading.
Absolutely. And the title of your class is Money Rules. What are the money rules?
So it's an interesting title because it has kind of a double entendre. I believe that there are certain simple rules of thumb that anyone, man or woman, can follow. How much you should spend on needs, wants, and savings. How much you can afford to spend on a home or a car. How much of your portfolio should be in equities. Those are the rules that are given in the course. But I also like to emphasize it's called Money Rules because there's a figurative component to that for women. When you're on top of your finances, you have choices and power and freedom and control over your life, and that's something that women aren't always urged to reach out for, and I want to encourage them to do that.
And made aware of how wonderful it is to have those things in your life, right, on your own as well as with somebody else. All right, well, thank you so much, Manisha, for all that great advice.
Thanks, Todd. And if people want to know more, they can go to Sympoz.com, SYMPOZ.com, to look and learn about money rules for women.